You're listening to CherryPickin Entertainment.
Throw me the ball and watch what I do with it.
You are now tuned into the CherryPickin podcast with your host, Andre Cherry.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome in to the CherryPickin podcast. I'm your host, Andre Cherry. I know it's been a minute. I know I wasn't here last week, but I'm glad to be here today. I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak to you all. Last week, I had actually came down with COVID, so I wasn't able to record an episode last week because I was very, very sick. If you can believe it or not, I have never, ever caught COVID up until this point. A couple weeks ago. I believe I got it when I was coming from New York City, whether I got it going or coming back, but I believe I got it in New York because the following few days after returning home from New York, I had the worst chest pain. Like, it literally felt like I was having a heart attack in my chest, and I didn't know what to do. I tried to lay down. It hurt. Almost like a muscle pain, but it just felt like in my bones, in my body, it just hurt so much. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't get any relief laying down flat. I didn't get relief sitting down. My partner tried to actually call urgent care to see what we should do. They said I should go in. Well, I didn't do that. I just tried to kind of fight through the pain a little bit, but it definitely had me nervous, definitely had me worried that I was having some sort of like cardiac arrest or some sort of issue there. Come to find out, a few days after that, the pain kind of subsided on its own. I felt okay, and then I got a tickle in my throat as I was returning home from some business travel a couple weeks ago. Like on Friday, a few weeks ago, I was coming home from a trip to South Carolina. I had a tickle in my throat. Thought I was just getting allergies. Like, that's usually how it starts for me. And I felt it in the back of my throat, and then on Saturday, it was much, much worse. Like, my throat was sore, had the allergies. You can still kind of hear the congestion in my throat right now. You can hear it in my voice. But I thought I was just coming down with seasonal allergies like I normally do once a year. And then on Sunday of that week, I was in bed knocked out until like 12 noon on Sunday. I usually am up much, much earlier than that. The latest I'll usually sleep, because my daughter is up early. She may let us sleep to like 8 a.m. We literally could not get out of bed until noon on Sunday. So I knew something was wrong. Something seemed off. I was just really weak, feverish, all these symptoms that come along with COVID. I was feeling them pretty strong. Later that night, I took a COVID test, found out I was positive, and that shook me, because I take these tests, especially when we were at the thick of the pandemic. I was taking these tests pretty regularly, and it was coming up blank. Like, I wasn't testing positive at all. I was testing negative. This test came up within a few minutes. It was double solid bars, blue, and it kind of shook me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. And like, this whole past week, I just have been off my routines. I've been off my game a little bit. Been quarantining away from the family all of last week on another floor of the house. Basically just spending time alone with my thoughts, doing a little bit of work when I could. But it was awful. It was truly, truly awful. And I was disappointed because I had gone so long without getting COVID, and I finally get caught with COVID, and it was probably only a matter of time because I travel so much for work, and I wear a mask when I'm on the planes and whatnot. Like, I try to mask up, not just because of COVID, but just because of the allergies and the allergens on planes. It's kind of gross, so I just try to wear a mask to give myself some protection. But I knew at some point it was going to come, and it got me this past week, and I feel awful. My partner had it as well. So we managed to get through this. We're getting better. We're not positive or contagious anymore, but I just wasn't able to find the energy or the juice to record a podcast or to do much of what I usually do in my routine. And I'm hoping tomorrow I can get back to the hustle and get back on my routine and in my groove and rhythm. But it was awful. Hoping for better days here. And one of the things that gives me joy is doing this podcast, and was able to watch college football, no problem. And, we've had a couple weeks here. We're now entering into week 4, but we've had a few weeks here that have been filled with exciting games. There have been some exciting matchups, some exciting storylines, and I want to get into it with you all on this podcast. First, I do want to give a shout out to my good friend Nick Shepkowski. Know him from 670 The Score, and if you're a Scorehead, he was a longtime producer there for a very long time. Probably one of the longest tenured producers in Chicago sports history. And I'm saying that, but I'm like, he was there for quite a while. And he was a good friend of mine. Worked for him on a couple shows. I want to say it was the Danny Mac show, and there may have been another show, but he's a good friend, good follow on Twitter. He actually manages the Fighting Irish Notre Dame football website, Fighting Irish Wire. And I posted a link to the link that I actually helped write on with Nick. He had reached out asking me if I want to try to do some sort of preview for NC State versus Notre Dame. And there are just a few questions that he sent me about the program, about what I'm looking forward to with this team and some of the bright spots, and just really trying to give a preview for the Notre Dame fans that may come to that website. And I just giving my insight about NC State and scouting the Wolfpack. And so I really am appreciative that Nick reached out and tapped me to do that. He knows I'm a huge NC State fan, been a huge NC State fan much of my life. And it was a really cool thing I could do. And it's on my Twitter. If you follow me, you can find it on there. It's on my website as well. So just want to say thank you to Nick Shepkowski for that opportunity. He's somebody that I want to get on the podcast. And I always say this, and I mean this with the most sincere thought and sincere. I'm being very sincere when I say this. It has become extremely hard managing my schedule these days because I am so busy with work and the family life, and my daughter's getting so much older and she's getting bigger. It's finding the time to do this. It's tough. And it's tough just for me. Like I do the show solo most of the time. Sometimes I'll have some folks on here, like Casey Kane has been a good collaborator on the podcast. And there's so many people that I connect with on Twitter that have such interesting thoughts on college football. They're people that I really want to have on the podcast. I just need to find the time and the way to do that. And so that's really on me. But Nick has been one of those people that I really want to have on the podcast. And I've been saying this. We've been trying to set that up for the past couple seasons, and it just hasn't come together. But it's something that is going to be a priority for me moving forward this season, hopefully. But just really wanted to say thank you to Nick, and again, thank you for that opportunity. He's a huge college football fan. He loves Notre Dame, and I'm sure he's probably getting really excited for Notre Dame versus Ohio State this weekend. So just want to say thank you, and just wanted to kick it off right. And so with that said, we'll go ahead and dive right in here. I don't want this to be too long of a podcast because I'm trying to get my feet back. But this past weekend, we had some exciting games. Colorado versus Colorado State is one that immediately comes to mind. 2 overtime finish. The game ended early in the morning, probably East Coast time. It was probably like 2:30 a.m., I want to say. I turned it off maybe a little after halftime. I tried to watch as much as I could. It was a late start Pacific time at 10 p.m. rather. But Colorado versus CSU, it cannot be understated what Deion Sanders is doing to Colorado and for college football. It feels like Colorado football games are the event to be at in sports. So people usually like to be seen at the U.S. Open. This past summer, a few weeks ago, you saw all the celebrities at the U.S. Open. You saw Justin Bieber, Hailey Bieber. You saw Jimmy Buckets. I mean, you saw all these celebrities, all these stars, and it feels as if Colorado football is that same event. Feels like it is the place to be at. This past weekend, we had The Rock. He was in the building. Master P, Offset, Lil Wayne, Kawhi Leonard, for example. I mean, there are so many celebrities that are tying themselves to Colorado and have hitched themselves to that wagon that it seems like it's a place to be. It seems like it's a lot of fun to be a fan of Colorado football, which is tremendous to see the effect that Deion has had, because he's just boosted the profile of that school immensely. I don't even know if you can quantify it yet, like the full true value of what he's doing. It has been fun to follow, fun to watch. Heading into this matchup, Colorado State football coach Jay Norvell, he made the following comments, which become bulletin board material for Colorado almost instantly. And I quote, "When I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and glasses off. That's what my mother taught me," end quote. I knew immediately when I saw that Jay Norvell has to be in on the bit, because why are you giving Deion Sanders free ammo to use against you? I know he's probably at some sort of function for Colorado State, probably some sort of weekly football show that he's doing, and it just came up and he just said it. You know, you see Deion's look, you see how he's dressed, his style. He usually wears a hat, Buffalo's hat, or some sort of shades, pretty sick shades. I'm not gonna lie. I want to find where he gets those shades, or if he makes them, or whatever the case may be, because he's pretty stylish. He's pretty fly. That set Jay off. Jay made those comments and it immediately blew up on Twitter. People were like, "Why would you do this?" Calling the coach out. My initial thought was that he's in on the bit, because they probably were going to lose. He probably knew they were going to lose anyways, but what does it hurt him to come out in the media and say something like that? Because everyone was talking about those comments after he made them. Everybody was glued to it. You boost the profile of that game this past weekend. It only helps you get more visibility, more eyes, more media attention on the event. So from my perspective, I thought it was a play on that type of angle, that he was just trying to get more interest in the game. I think it worked because everybody was watching it. College Game Day was there. Fox's kickoff show was there as well. So everyone around both of those teams excited for that matchup. But with that said, the game did get personal. It felt very chippy early on. Both teams met at the 50-yard line at the beginning of the game. It felt like a huge mob mentality. Players mouthing off to one another. Dirty hits, really ugly stuff throughout the game. Travis Hunter, phenomenal two-way player for Colorado. He was knocked out of the game on a dirty hit and was ultimately taken to the hospital for observation. He'll be out for a couple weeks, I think, is the last that I saw online. And that's a shame, because you never want the game to get too personal. You never want it to get too dirty. I know this is a true rivalry game, Colorado versus Colorado State, but that's not necessary. That's not what we need in college football. It's just unfortunate that it got that dirty. I do have a quote here from Deion Sanders about the win in 2 overtime for Colorado, and he said, and I quote, "We showed that we have no surrender or give up in us," end quote. Players, they never doubted themselves. That's another quote that he had made. And Colorado believes they are a fun team to watch, but the problem is they're not going to be able to keep this up for the rest of the season. In my opinion, Colorado is not the hunter, so to speak. Like they're a fun underdog team. They're a fun underdog story, but everyone is coming at them as if they are the hunters. They're being hunted. While I understand the effect that he has, which has been great for college football, he also has the other effect where everyone wants to beat you now. And everyone wants to, I don't want to say make it personal, but I think they're coming for blood every week they play Colorado. Colorado has to bring this high intensity, high level of effort to win all of these games. We've seen them do it with TCU, took them down to the wire. The Nebraska game was down to the wire as well. Colorado State, down to the wire 2 overtimes. These are teams that, while I know they're beefed up, it's a better roster. 80 players came in, high quality talent. It's still a lot of work to have to be able to put this effort up each week, and it's just not sustainable. Now you're getting into the thick of the schedule where it's going to get really tough here. Like this week, they're playing Oregon. And then after that, I believe it's USC. So it's starting to get serious, and I don't expect for them to be able to do this every week, match this same level of intensity. And I'm not trying to be a Colorado or a Dion hater. I think it's extremely fun. I've enjoyed it. I don't want the party to stop, but I'm being realistic. I don't know how much longer they can keep that up, if I'm being honest. It's just the mental taxation, the physical toll that it takes for them to be able to do this week in and week out. It's just not sustainable. And with them being without Travis Hunter for a few weeks, I guess, I really am worried that, you know, they're going to be even worse off when they play some of these top teams out of the Pac-12. But it has been so much fun to watch. I really don't want it to end. In this matchup against Colorado State, Buffs quarterback Shedeur Sanders, he completed 38 for 47 for 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. Shedeur Sanders, he threw a pass to Michael Harrison in the second overtime after leading the drive to tie the game with 36 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Number 18, Colorado, rallied back to beat Colorado State 43-35 early Sunday in front of a full house packed with famous names. Colorado finds a way. They don't quit. They keep believing. It's inspiring to watch. It's awesome for the game. We've got a coach here with personality. So much personality, so much swag. It's cool to see a black coach in this position because you don't typically see black coaches in this position. Name me the last coach that had so much swag like this, white or black. It's hard to think back. Lane Kiffin may be a coach that comes to mind. He has so much swagger, especially when he was early on, you know, with Tennessee and USC. He had so much hype and promise. He had personality, but like not on this level. Mike Leach, rest in peace, had a great personality, a very oddball character, but not like this. Like this feels different. This feels like he's changing the game up. It's worked out for Colorado. Like if you told me this last winter, whenever he got this job, that he was going to be the head coach of Colorado, I probably told you it doesn't seem like a good fit. He doesn't seem like he'd be a coach in Colorado. Like he seems like a coach that would be in the SEC. But boy, has it worked out. Colorado seems like the place to be. Seems like the destination. Hope he can keep it going. But being realistic, I think it's going to be tough sledding coming up here pretty soon. There are a couple other games that happened this past weekend, but I don't think we really got too much time because I'm not trying to have a too long of a podcast. So I will very quickly talk about Washington versus Michigan State. Michael Penix Jr. went off. He's the transfer quarterback from Indiana from a few seasons ago. He made slight work over an MSU squad that will need to figure out the path forward now that Mel Tucker has been suspended. In the matchup against the Spartans, the former Indiana Hoosier quarterback went 27 for 35 for 473 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Golly. In the 2 games prior, Penix has thrown for 859 yards, 8 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. So Washington rolls on. Washington's ranked really high right now in the AP top 25. They're going to be a team to beat out of the Pac-12. And Michael Penix Jr. for sure will probably be somebody that you need to watch out for from a Heisman standpoint. He definitely has come into his own. He's got immense talent. He was fun to watch at Indiana. I feel like it's all culminating into this season, and he's just going to go off this year. So rooting for him, and hopefully the Huskies can do what they're going to do this year, and maybe they'll be one of the top teams at the end of the season. Then we had number 11 Tennessee versus Florida. This was a great win for the Florida Gators over a ranked Volunteers team at home. This win marks the Gators' 10th straight victory over the Volunteers at home. Head coach Billy Napier really needed this win to help stave off anyone doubting if he's truly the man for the Gators. Last season, he was the first coach in program history to lose to Tennessee, LSU, Georgia, and Florida State in the same season. So he really, truly needed this victory against a ranked Tennessee Volunteers team that seems to be moving backwards, if I'm being honest. And it doesn't get any easier for Florida. They are ranked this week as a result. I think they're number 25 in the AP poll, which is great. Gives them a little bit of a breathing room. But Gators play at Kentucky on September 30th, and then a matchup against Georgia on October 28th. So they got a few games here that they can use to tune up. But Kentucky will be a tough matchup on September 30th before they get Georgia on the 28th of October. Whew, I'm out of breath here. I'm trying to get my feet back. I'm going to take a quick break, though. On the other side of the break, I'll get into the top 5 locks for Week 4 action, and then we'll wrap this up with a nice, pretty little bow. Don't go anywhere. Cherry Pickin' Podcast will be right back.
In 1957, Laika became the first animal to orbit Earth. What kind of animal was Laika?
What is the only team in the Big Four North American sports leagues which shares its name with one of the Avengers?
And here's one more question for you. Are you the type of person who enjoys playing trivia games, learning new things, and having a bit of fun along the way?
If you are, or if you just want to find out the answers to those other questions, then our podcast, Quiz and Hers, might be right up your alley.
Each week, one of us writes new trivia questions for the other person, covering everything from science to history to pop culture to sports.
And every question in a game relates to some theme, like Game of Thrones,
Internet memes,
sandwiches,
or animals in space.
Some of the themes make more sense than others.
So if you like trivia, learning, or real couples testing each other's knowledge and patience, check out our podcast, Quiz and Hers.
Quiz and Hers, the trivia podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship.
Basketball is back. And with that comes joy, tension, heartbreak, buzzer beaters, and elation. It's time to be courtside for every one of those moments, no matter where your team is playing. Short Courts specializes in making replica and custom basketball courts for your home, office, sports cave to decorate your walls with all those memories. If you have a picture, we can recreate it. Featured in the 2021 UniWatch Holiday Gift Guide, Short Courts are made using real wood. We frame and give them an epoxy finish to protect the new centerpiece of your memorabilia collection. With previous customers including Northern Kentucky University, Southern Utah University, 199 Apparel, The Perimeter Podcast with Adam Morrison, and many more celebrating the careers and retirements of their coaches, it's time you visit shortcourts.com for more info and a gallery of our work, or you can send us an email, info@shortcourts.com. Be sure to find us on social media, just search for Short Courts. It's time to bring the home court home.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. On this side of the break, we'll just get into my top 5 straight up locks within the Power 5 conference this weekend. There's some exciting games for Week 4 action in college football. In the ACC, I'm taking Florida State over Clemson. These are two teams who feel like they're moving in opposite directions this season. Clemson has been atop the ACC for so long, but now times are changing. I don't feel threatened by the Tigers. I don't feel like they're a legitimate threat in the ACC anymore. Florida State is a squad on the come up, and after its Week 1 victory over LSU, I'm a believer. However, last weekend BC gave the Seminoles all it could handle in the 31-29 road victory for Florida State. Florida State is going to have to bring its best effort against the Tigers next Saturday, even though Clemson isn't as scary as they once were, even though they aren't as dynamic of a team like they once were. It's still Clemson. They still demand some respect. And Florida State, if they're going to push ahead and break through to the next level, they have to beat Clemson this upcoming weekend. It's going to be a tough game for sure. FSU is going to have to really bring it, especially offensively. If we look at the game against Boston College this past weekend, Florida State only converted 1 of 9 third downs. BC also dominated the time of possession in that game. So Florida State, I'm not saying they have to play a flawless game, but they have to play their best game this season if they're going to expect to remain atop the ACC. So it's going to be an exciting game within the ACC. In the Big Ten, got Penn State over Iowa. I'm excited to see these two high-powered defenses this upcoming Saturday. I think Iowa's defense keeps the Hawkeyes in the game, but I don't trust Iowa's offense to score enough points in a hostile environment. Probably be a whiteout at that game next weekend. I believe it's at Happy Happy Valley. So I'm taking Penn State over Iowa. In the Big 12, taking Oklahoma State over Iowa State. Both of these teams seem to be moving backwards. ISU's head coach, Matt Campbell, seems to have lost all that magic he had, all that sparkle, all that luster. I saw something on IG this past weekend where a Cyclones fan seemed to be heckling Matt Campbell as the team was walking onto the field or the locker room. Matt Campbell lost it, came back towards the heckler, but I believe his security guard kind of got in the way. Some players held him back. That's not a good look for Matt Campbell. Don't lose your composure. Don't let, one fan's comments sour you or do what it's a bad look all around. I think Oklahoma State also is a team that underperformed last weekend. They were a little underwhelming. I'm not sure what happened to OK State last weekend. They got embarrassed 33-7 by South Alabama Jaguars. I don't even know who that is. I think Oklahoma State gets a victory over Iowa State this upcoming weekend, but it's just not a good look for Matt Campbell and Iowa State this year. Oklahoma State hasn't impressed me either, which is surprising because from an offensive standpoint, Oklahoma State usually brings the offense, but I don't know where it's been lately. In the Pac-12, Oregon over Colorado. It pains me to say that. I think it's a fun story, Colorado and what they're doing right now, but if I'm being realistic, I don't know if they have enough juice left to upset the Ducks on the road. Their game this past weekend went so late early into the Sunday morning hours. I think mentally, physically, I think to get into a battle with Oregon, a road race with them, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be taxing. I want the Buffaloes to win, and hopefully I get this game wrong, but I think Oregon handles Colorado this weekend and gives them their first loss of the season. The Buffs defense, if you look at it, they allow about 460 yards of offense compared to Oregon's 285.7 yards. The following week, Colorado is facing USC, so the toughest part of the schedule is coming right now. I just think Oregon's defense is too capable. I think they've got enough pieces to corral the Buffalo's offense, and with the injury to Hunter, it makes me a little nervous. If they were maybe full strength, I'd give them a shot, but if I'm being realistic, I don't know that Colorado has enough to beat Oregon, so I'm taking the Ducks this weekend. Then in the SEC, I'm taking Ole Miss over Bama. Alabama, I believe, is favored in this game right now, which is surprising because I don't know where in the hell their offense has been, especially last weekend. They were playing South Florida, and they barely escaped 17-3. Bama has offense issues. They saw 3 different quarterbacks get time on Saturday. I'm worried because Ole Miss can score points. In fact, they score the third most points in college football right now at 52.7 points per game. So this can get out of hand real quick. And so I think this is ripe for an upset. I think Bama loses this weekend to Ole Miss. So I'm taking the Ole Miss Rebels over the Crimson Tide. So I'll run that back for you one more time. In the ACC, I'm taking FSU over Clemson. In the Big 10, Penn State over Iowa. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State over Iowa State. In the Pac-12, Ducks over Buffaloes. And in the SEC, Ole Miss over Bama. We've got some other big games this weekend. We got Ohio State at Notre Dame. I believe I saw College Game Day will be in South Bend to preview this matchup this upcoming weekend. Ohio State holds the advantage in its head-to-head matchup against Notre Dame. The Buckeyes have won 5 of its 7 matchups against the Fighting Irish, including each of the last 5 meetings dating back to 1995. So if Notre Dame is going to expect to push through to the next level, they have to beat Ohio State. I'm not saying Notre Dame's schedule has been easy because it hasn't been. They played a really physical game against NC State a couple weeks ago, but this is the true test. If they can beat Ohio State, they will be ready for the playoffs because Ohio State, they reload. I feel as if there's not a lot of hype around the Buckeyes this season. They're a very talented squad going through some changes, on the team, on the offense specifically. And it just doesn't feel as if people are hype about Ohio State, but don't get it twisted. This is going to be an exciting game. I can't wait to watch this matchup. A lot of offensive firepower from both of these teams. So it'll be fun to watch. It's going to be a big-time game this weekend. Also have Utah versus UCLA. These are two teams for offensively are, throwing up some points this year. And defensively, I like Utah's defense. But a big-time game in the Pac-12. Two teams that are undefeated right now in the conference. This game means a lot. And then we also got NC State this upcoming weekend versus Virginia. I'm excited for that. That game's on Friday, which is my birthday coming up here, September 22nd. So I would love an NC State victory on my birthday. That would be perfect if I can get that. And I think they will. Virginia looks awful this year. NC State, despite the loss to Notre Dame, they're still in a good position to do something in the ACC, especially with Florida State and Clemson playing this upcoming weekend. NC State has a chance to kind of fall right into position if they can just do what they need to do, handle their business. Wolfpack will still be in the hunt this year. So I would love nothing more, like I said, than an NC State victory this weekend. That would be so dope. And, I would be pumped. Whew. I am dragging here. If you can hear my throat, it's raw right now. But I had to do this podcast. I had to bring this back for the people. The crazy thing about my birthday coming up here, so I'm in my mid to late 30s now, I guess I will be. And Mike Gundy, he said something back on my birthday, back in 2007, and he said, and we all remember this, he was defending his player in response to a news article. Gundy yelled, "Come after me, I'm a man, I'm 40. And he said that back on September 22nd, 2007. I was 20 years old. And I'm like, this dude is he's 40 years old saying this. Like, he defended his player, a lot of passion in his voice. But I'm like, this guy is crazy. Like, this grown man is saying this stuff. And every year, I've been tracking towards that date. Every year, I'm tracking towards when Mike Gundy said, I'm 40. Like I said, I'm in my mid-30s now, mid to late 30s. And it scares me because I'm approaching that age that Mike Gundy was when he made that statement. I was a young buck when he said it. I was like 20. I was a kid, had so much life in front of me. And now that I'm approaching Mike Gundy's age from when he said that statement, makes me nervous. Everything that I'm tracking in life is pre and post Mike Gundy statement. So Mike Gundy said it when he was 40. Closer I get to 40, I feel like once I hit that mark, it's over. Like, I'm just an old head. So that's the thing that kind of keeps me going. That's the thing that kind of inspires me to try to hit these goals in life and to be successful. It's that I'm trying to just get it done with the time that I have before I hit 40, when Mike Gundy made that statement, like a crazy person. I've still got a few more years before I hit that mark, but believe me, it's in the back of my head that I'm getting closer and closer to Mike Gundy's age when he said that. It's scary. It's scary, but it motivates me. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this podcast. Hope you have a good week, and I hope you enjoy watching Week 4 college football this upcoming weekend. Let's go, baby. Let's go, NC State, and let's have fun this weekend. Be safe, and I'll holler at you soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.
I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. I'm 40.
Thank you again for tuning into my Cherry Pickin' podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe to my show and drop me a rating on Apple Podcasts. All of my digital content can be found at the website CherryPickinSports.com. And if you are looking to interact with me via social media, my Twitter handle is @Cherry_Pickin. That's PICKIN. On my Twitter, you'll also find a link to my blog where I post my weekly college football predictions and analysis. I can also be reached via email at cherrypickinsports@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to me regarding what you like about this podcast or about what content you'd like to hear more of on future episodes. I sincerely thank you for your support, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Take care.